Hey Happy Valley, I'm Brooke Steach, joined alongside by Zech Lambert and our third host, Seth Engle. And today we're going to be bringing you the latest news from Penn State and State College. Coming up today, Zach and Seth break down next year's Penn State basketball team.
Then we have a special sit-down interview with freshman Maddy Miller and her recovery story from the coronavirus.
And make sure to stick around until the end for a special musical performance by Portz.
But first, here are the latest headlines.
Penn State women's soccer player Frankie Tagliaferri was awarded the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week for the second straight week after her performance against Maryland in the Nittany Lions regular season finale. Tagliaferri's 8 combined points in the game are tied for 6th most in the Big Ten history and were the most for a Big Ten player since 2019.
The Bryce Jordan Center began to administer coronavirus vaccines on Friday. The vaccination clinic will operate for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. The National Guard and the AMI Expeditionary Healthcare LCC will administer 600 initial doses per day.
Penn State has established a next-gen committee to guide the administration in selecting a new university president after current president Eric Barron announced his upcoming retirement in 2022. The phase is designed to listen to community needs, seek feedback, and guide university and involvement during the selection process.
Penn State announced that the Movin' On Festival will be held virtually this spring. It will stream on Zoom and WPSU on April 30th and will still have the same structure as past events.
Hi, I'm Seth Engle. Coming up next, Zech and myself will be discussing the future of Penn State men's basketball.
In Penn State sports news, 6 Nittany Lions on the Penn State men's basketball team have decided to enter the transfer portal. 3 players have announced their new destinations, which include Trent Buttrick, who will be going to UMass, Myron Jones, who will be going to Florida, and Jamari Wheeler, who will be transferring to Penn State's rival Ohio State. Seth Lundy and John Harrar have yet to make a decision, but Isaiah Brockington has decided to stay. So Zach and Seth, what do you guys think about this?
I mean, I'm going to be real. Next year, Penn State's not looking too good.
Well, they're not looking great, but the hire of Micah Shrewsbury is promising, if not for next year, for the future. He's developed some great talent. He's helped develop Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum in the NBA. And you look at him, he's going to use that as a recruiting pitch, and it's going to be really helpful in getting some higher profile recruits, something that Penn State has struggled to do. So yeah, maybe next year doesn't look great, but down the road, I think that they could be really good.
I think that's fair enough to assume. I mean, he's definitely got the NBA connections, especially with the Celtics and his work with different coaches around the country. It'll be interesting to see Penn State actually become a place where recruits want to go, something that hasn't been even through the Pat Chambers era. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, one thing that does worry me is how is he going to get these recruits to come? Like, he has the pedigree to get them to come, but how is he going to get these people to come when he can't even get the people who were here to stay? He clearly couldn't get Jamari Wheeler to buy in. He left. Trent Buttrick, gone. Myron Jones, gone. So if he can't get the people that were here to stay, how is he going to get people to come in?
I think that's an interesting thing to look at. I wonder what went on in those meetings and what Brockington heard that made him want to come back. And then you got these other guys who are, on their way to other schools across the country. What went wrong in those meetings? Shrewsbury's definitely got the resume that just screams basketball. Like, he knows basketball. He's been around this game for his whole lifetime. He's been around some powerful people within that game. What went wrong in those meetings, or was it time for them to just move on from the Penn State program?
I think it was probably time for them to move on, and that's, if you're a Penn State fan, what you have to hope, that he didn't lose those guys. Those guys were gone before he even got here. So, to me, that is the promising look, if you're a Penn State fan, is to think, yeah, they were already gone. It's not that he lost them, and then he'll be able to get these guys that we talked about earlier, these higher profile recruits that, Penn State really has not gotten.
I was just going to ask you guys, Micah Shrewsbury just had his first press conference at Penn State. I'm not sure if you guys watched, but do you guys actually think he is the best fit for Penn State basketball right now?
I personally do, because I really think that he's going to help with the recruiting, and I think that's something that Penn State, we've seen guys come here that aren't high recruits like Lamar Stevens, Tony Carr, and do very well. So it's not about developing the people here. If they can get some higher recruits like a 4-star, a 5-star, and develop them like they've developed some guys like Lamar Stevens, I think that's great. So getting these recruits, I think, is going to be the big thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think it's going to be a slow start. As Penn State fans, I think everyone is just going to have to stay very patient this year and maybe even the next year after that. But I'm pretty confident that with Shrewsbury coming to the program, there are going to be more recruits coming in and just more people want to be a part of this program.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see Penn State basketball have fans coming back into the Bryce Jordan Center along with a new coach and a new squad. And up next, we'll have Seth's interview with Maddy Miller.
Welcome to 5 Minutes. It's like 60 minutes, but shorter. I'm Seth Engle. Today we're here with Maddy Miller, a freshman at Penn State whose COVID diagnosis in the fall almost turned to the worst. So Maddy, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
That's great to hear. To start off, I'd just like to know, your first couple weeks at Penn State, how did they go?
My first couple weeks at Penn State, they were completely awesome. I joined a lot of clubs and organizations. I joined the Association of Women in Sports Journalism, Penn State Sports Night, and then I got an anchor position for Penn State Network News, which is super cool.
Really? So how long after your entrance to campus did you receive the diagnosis for COVID-19?
So I was diagnosed with COVID on October 28th. I originally thought that I was just having an allergic reaction because I felt like my throat was closing, but I tested positive. I went to MedExpress actually, and I had 2 negative tests from there, but my on-campus testing came back positive. So I had to go to Eastview Terrace and quarantine for about 5 days because I was having symptoms for a while, but I just thought, oh, they're allergies, I'm fine. But I was actually really sick from COVID till mid-December.
So what were your initial expectations? Obviously, you thought you were just a little sick. Did you have any idea that this was going to last for months?
I had no idea. I thought, okay, I'll be down for a week and then I'll be right back on. So it was kind of funny though. I'm a social media intern for Penn State Athletics and I write some of their featured story content. And when I was going to Eastview Terrace, I had an interview at 3 and then another one at 3:10, very quick for Penn State women's hockey. And I got to Eastview around, I want to say 2:50, and I had 10 minutes to get all my stuff, get my computers out, and to get on that interview. So I wasn't really expecting, I was kind of expecting to be there a little bit longer just because I was so sick, and I completely crashed after I got done when I needed to get done.
So at what point did you feel you had to go to the hospital?
So they called the paramedics because my mom has lung problems, so I was kind of worried about that. But they checked me out, and they're like, hey, your pulse ox is fine. We want you to stay on campus, just, I guess, because of the hospital. Didn't want to be overrun, so I just stayed on campus. And then when I went back home, I was still having a lot of problems, so I got in with a pulmonologist and then ears, nose, and throat doctor. And that's when they found a tumor in my sinus cavity that was really, really large. And I had to have surgery for that in February.
Wow. So what's going through your head when you find out you have this tumor now? First you thought you were just a little sick, then you find out it's COVID, now you find out you have a tumor. What's going on there?
So I was completely shocked. I was actually at my doctor's appointment and for my lungs, and they wanted me to go to the hospital to get a chest x-ray to make sure I didn't have pneumothorax, which is a collapsed lung. And I was in the car on a telemed visit after waiting to go to the hospital. And she's like, yeah, you have a tumor. I'm like, yeah, it hurts right here. She goes, that's exactly where the tumor is. It was benign. It's called an osteoma, so it was a bone tumor. But it was fairly large. And she had me go to a surgeon, and he was awesome, Dr. Akulia. And I saw him, I want to say February 7th, and I had surgery 5 days later just due to the size. And it was really close to my skull. And it was poking into my eye, you could actually touch it.
So is that a scary process?
Oh my gosh,
how was that emotionally?
it was terrifying. I had only a few days to get ahead of my schoolwork. I had to let my professors know. I had to let my Penn State news producer know that I wasn't going to be coming back for a little bit. I had to let my internship guys know. And I'm also a news correspondent for Setter News Digest, and I had to let my group there know too. But everyone was super friendly, and they just wanted, I had a good support system with friends, and everyone just hoped that I felt better soon.
Oh, that's awesome. So at what point did you come back to campus?
So I came back to campus, I want to say on March 7th, and that was super fun, and I'm just very happy to be back now.
Yeah, happy you are back. That about wraps it up for 5 Minutes today. Thank you so much for joining us, Maddy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Brooke Steach here with the Hey Happy Valley, and we're here to start off our game show. I'm here with Alex, who is a sophomore. Now, you're going to have 30 seconds to answer this question on time, and then if you get it right, you'll win a prize.
All right.
So the question is, can you name 10 current Penn State football players on the team right now?
Yes. Oh my God, Devin Ford, Noah Kane, Sean Clifford, John Dixon, oh my gosh, Tariq Castro Fields, Jahan Dotson, something Ellis, like,
Your 5 seconds.
oh, darn it.
Oh,
I
you're
give up.
close. He was so close. He was only 3 off, but we still do have a prize for you today for playing, so thank you so much.
Welcome back to the Collegian office. I'm Zech Lambert, and this is my pick of the week. So this week I'm going with a pop album, and I'm not usually a huge fan of pop, but I'm going to go with Demi Lovato's new album, Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over. Now, she released the original version on Friday, April 2nd, and then released the expanded version on Monday, April 5th, and I think this album really shows off a whole range of her vocals, and she does a great job. This is her first album since 2017, and I think she's back to stay. She also has a song on there with Ariana Grande, and honestly, it's kind of a guilty pleasure song. It's called Met Him Last Night, and I think it's a really good song and could do numbers on the radio. So if you haven't listened, you should definitely go check it out.
That about wraps up our news segment for today's episode of Hey Happy Valley. Like and subscribe after watching this video, and feel free to comment if you choose to do so. And finally, to wrap up the show, we have a musical performance from Cole Portz.
Try to sing words that fall out of my tongue, but when I climb your ladder, love, I fall off the top rung. So I say, what about tomorrow? Will you be the one who takes me home? I wish you knew the things you made me do. So I say, if not an opportunity to smile and wave and laugh on your way. I'm not saying that life could be better. I guess I'm saying that it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Try to understand the thoughts that roll through my head, but when I see those words you've said, I fall right out of bed and I go and run around crazy thinking, should I go or follow you home? I wish you knew the things you put me through. So I say, what's the day if not an opportunity to smile and wave and laugh on your way? I'm not saying that life could be better. I guess I'm saying